following day, 2 o'clock in the morning last night, I shut it off, bring it back up to a boil now, add in all the vegetables. I don't recommend doing it that way. Okay? I had to do it that way, we ran behind. Okay? It's much better to start it as early as possible in the morning so that you can add the vegetables and finish the entire process and strain it out before the end of the night. With these beef bones, if it was, you're figuring 10 to 12 hours, okay, you'd have to start 12 hours before you want to go to sleep. All right, so you got to engineer it backwards, but also you can do it this way. You can shut it down, bring it back up to a boil, and finish it off, which is what I'm going to do now. Okay, so I just turned it back on. It's beginning to come back up now. I'm going to add in the aromatics. Okay, very gently. I'm going to put them in. I don't want to disturb everything, so I'm going to do it just a little bit at a time, like that. As long as you're not disturbing the bones, you're fine. Perfect. Now, so these vegetables, okay, carrots, onions, and celery, the garlic split in half, it's going to take an hour or two to fully extract, okay? So the last 3 hours, 2 hours, add in those vegetables. Last hour, 45 minutes, put in all of your spices. Okay. Last half hour, throw in your herbs. Okay. And that's how you can do a nice cadence of the flavors, steeping in just like a tea. Because we got plenty of meat flavor here already. Now we're adding in the vegetable flavor, we're adding in the spices and the herbs. Okay, to create our Warlock's Brew, to create this crazy flavor that you're in, this crazy nutrition, okay? Because it's all about nutrition too. Think about it like that. Think about it like your magic potion, like your healing broth. So I'm making sure that everything on top now is soaked, because a lot of it was dry, it never touched the liquid. Boom, and now we're gonna go with the spices. So let's talk about spices. What can you put? Whatever you want. Okay, these are some black peppercorns. Okay, putting them right on top. Boom. This is my magic potion, guys. This is coriander seeds on top. Boom. These are mace. This is whole mace. Just a little bit of whole mace. Craziness here. Cinnamon stick. Boom. You got to have a big pot for a cinnamon stick that big. And look, I got a few star anise here too. Beautiful star anise. Just gonna kind of scatter them around, and once again, we're letting them just melt in, and slowly fall in, and then all these cloves. Beautiful. Again, it's a lot of cloves. This is a big pot. 1 clove is probably plenty for yours. Some ginger, some fresh cut ginger. I could have put the ginger with the vegetable aromatics. That would have worked too, but this will work as well. I cut it nice and thin. It'll extract pretty quickly. Pepperoncino. Boom. We're making an impressionist work of art here, basically, with our spices. Bam, boom, zing. I have also some lemon peel here, dried lemon peel. That's nice. Fennel seeds. Again, this is all going to melt in. This is going to be like, this is layering, because the first extraction is where you're really going to taste all this. And now we let that go. And then the last half hour, 15 minutes, okay, herbs. And then off, we let it rest, and then we strain it. Spices melted in. I'm going to do the same thing now. I'm going to push them down a little bit, layering this whole gigantic broth from the top down. Think of it like layering. You're building the broth, building sauces, building broths. We layer, we melt in, we melt in. We're gonna melt in these beautiful fresh bay leaves. You can use a lot of bay leaves for this. It's a lot of Brodo here. Boom, that's gorgeous. And I'm gonna go ahead and push these in right away because they need to get in contact with the liquid. And bay leaves take a little longer than regular herbs. Rosemary, sage, bay leaves definitely take a little longer than fresher herbs like parsley and basil. I'm not gonna put that much rosemary, just a couple like that. And I'm gonna just use the stems on the sage with a couple of leaves on it. Infusing, extracting, concentrating. Now in the next 20 minutes, we kill the heat and we let it just rest and just let it hang out for at least a couple hours, and it starts to fall down. It makes it easier to take from the top, you're gonna see, okay? But bam, boom, zing, look at this masterpiece. It's melting in, all this flavor's melting in, amazing. This is gonna, basically done. We're gonna kill the heat now. We're gonna let this just come down and rest, and then we're gonna strain it. Let's strain this big bad boy. So you get yourself a nice big ladle, or in this case, if you have a gigantic pot like I do, you use a smaller pot. And you take from the middle, right from the center, and you do not disturb the bones at all. The bones are all the way underneath anyway. Just stay away from them. And just keep straining through a chinois, a fine mesh strainer. See that? It's a fine mesh strainer, also known as a chinois. And oh my God, the aromas are blowing my mind here. Boom. The color is gorgeous. Brodo. The whole house reeks. God, it's like heaven in here. All these flavors and aromas and all this layering, all this magic. Put this all back inside. All these aromatics, because we're going to be running this again. This is pure Brodo right here. Now this Brodo will go in these containers and go in the freezer. You can see there's quite a bit of fat on top of there, quite a bit. Pot that we filled up is full of fat because that's where all the fat was. It was right on top as I was pulling. You can see there's a good half-inch layer of fat on here. So I'm gonna pull most of the fat off of this, so I can add the fat in after I fill up the containers and have a almost equal amount of fat on top of each square. So you can do that, and you're basically picking up the rivers just like we were doing before. You're picking up the rivers of fat. This is so much fat that the whole top is covered. You see? It's mostly fat. My little ladle is grabbing the fat. My little ladle is grabbing the fat. And my ladle likes the fat. He's grabbing the fat, controlling the fat. Just gonna put a little bit of fat on top of each one. And now we're gonna chill these down. Final step on the Brodo, get it in the freezer. Okay, you can see the fat. See how it protects the broth? I put a little bit of fat on top of each one, you see? It's beautiful. So I cooled them down to room temperature, and then I threw them in the freezer to freeze. Okay, and now I'm gonna wrap them. And then we're gonna label them and date them. Very important. You need to know exactly when you made it and what you used. Brodo, 10, 25, and this is turkey, beef shanks. Boom. That's it, right in the freezer. I'm gonna line them up like soldiers. If you keep your Brodo in the fridge, as long as you boil it every week, you can keep it for almost forever in the fridge. Just keep boiling it all the time, okay? But if you make a lot and you wanna give it out, it's better to freeze it.